What's up, Flanellers? Here with Fanspeak's Steve Shoup. We're going to be doing some Best Ball Mania drafting. If you'd like to draft with us, you should get in pretty soon because I've already entered to be in the next Best Ball Mania draft before we get started. Steve, it's been a minute. We did several DraftKings drafts last year. I don't think we did any Underdog on this channel last year, so this will be a little bit different for us to attack Best Ball Mania. But I know you are doing a billion slows just like I am, so this is nothing new for you. How you doing?
Yeah. No, definitely in the slow draft streets, especially with Underdog releasing, 3 tournaments at once. I'm technically 4. I didn't do the mini gold or whatever it is. But yeah, the marathon I'm a big fan of. And I think the $5 price point was good for it. And the Chihuahuan, I'm big into Superflex, and actually the German Shepherd Superflex, which they just released. I had a finals team last year in, so want to try and run that back.
Nice. I don't get as excited about the Superflex. I know a lot of people really love Superflex stuff. I just, because I'm so used to like regular ADPs, I never I guess I don't get into it enough to like figure out the like ranges of ADPs that players go in, and it's a tougher equation for me to figure out like running backs versus wide receivers. So I get less excited about it. So I just use the sidekick mostly for Superflex and just say, all right, just gonna top click it for the most part. But I still do a lot. I'm currently in, or I entered, I might be done with some of them, 150 of the, I forget what it's called, the $3 one, like last minute I entered 140 I had left of that one. So getting those in. Did you do the little Dalmatian at all? The $1
draft? I did like 30 of them, 20 of them, something like that. I wasn't going to max it, but I was like, you know what, it's still, I wasn't going to max it just because, like, to make finals, you know, even if you make a finals team, you're nowhere near getting your ROI back. But I do think it's a cheap way to get, what is it, 15K, top prize or whatever it was. So, and I do encourage them doing tournaments at different price points and doing tournaments with different advanced structures. I think that's positive for the, just the community and the nature of the growth of best ball. So, if I knew they were releasing all these tournaments the next week, maybe I wouldn't have done that many, but yeah.
Yeah, I maxed it out, but I saw, I can't remember who posted it. Somebody on Twitter posted the advice, don't do these as slows, which I think was great advice, to not do the little Dalmatian, the $1 entry as slows, just do it as fast drafts and auto draft it. So that's what I did. I was like, all right, that's good advice. So I set my own ranks for the first time, like using my own ranks. But I set it up to be like, these are auto draft ranks. And, when you do it that way, you get some stinkers, but I got some teams that I actually love where it's like, man, I have 3 quarterbacks, all 3 of them stacked up. Like, it was like, some of them like worked out really, really well.
Wow.
Others, of course, looked like crap, but it was kind of fun. I actually enjoyed, like, I would set it to auto draft and then watch some of them, just kind of curious to see how do my ranks work, and then kind of adjust a little bit as I go. So yeah, it was kind of a fun, different way of attacking the $1 draft. So I'm kind of hoping they'll do more of those so I can try that again, because it's kind of its own kind of fun game to like try to set up your auto draft ranks in a way that, like, you're going to have a good structure and you're not going to like lose too much ADP value. Maybe line up some ADPs for stacking. I don't know. So I thought it was kind of fun.
I did like 10 auto draft, and what I did is, since Meg and I both have rankings, I did like 3 for hers and 7 for mine. And then I did like 15 to 20 slows, which is interesting because the slows, I'm noticing, I think a lot of people are just autoing that in the slow streets. Like, I'm seeing the same people fall in every draft. So I do find that a little interesting.
It seems like you probably could get a big advantage there if you don't auto draft. Seems to me like a lot of people have like pushed up running backs, like with the idea of like, I'm going to just make sure I have, they're probably doing like a lot of like 4 running back builds, doing like hyper fragile type stuff, I'm guessing. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to see the different approaches to that one. All right. So we're in the 11 hole in this Best Ball Mania. Our pick is about to be up by ADP. It would be Justin Jefferson, Ashton Genty, James Cook, Saquon Barkley. Anybody you particularly like here?
I would push for Jefferson if we get him, just because we're going to get a running back on the way back. And while I don't mind starting 2 running backs, I do think Jefferson, I don't think we're giving enough credit for what his upside can be with non-JJ McCarthy. I know you're, Minnesota guy, but like, it was bad. It was real. And here I actually lean Saquon. I think I think Sean Mannion comes in. This comes from the Shanahan tree, the Shanahan offense. He was with LaFleur in Green Bay, but they seem to like running backs. We see this on all these teams every Shanahan disciple. So I think Barkley could, and this is essentially the thesis here, is we actually could have gotten wide receiver 1 and running back 1. They both have that upside. And Jefferson, I've said this before, in the 5 games with Carson Wentz, and we're talking Carson Wentz last year, he would have been on pace from a yardage standpoint to compete with any receiver last year. It was just the other 11 games or 12 games without Carson Wentz. And Carson Wentz, I think Kyler is just way better than Carson Wentz, obviously. I think Jefferson's other issue last year is he didn't have a lot of touchdowns, and he had 0 in the 5 Carson Wentz games. But I think he bounces back to the 7 to 10 range as normal. He was like 6th in targets last year, even with all the issues. And now they should just be much more accurate targets. So I just think it's wheels up for him, and people aren't giving him enough credit to really challenge for wide receiver 1 or 2.
So I'm on the same page as you. I'm a bull on Jefferson back in, but do you have the same concerns that I have of like, well, Kyler couldn't throw touchdowns to Trey McBride, like could not get the ball to Trey McBride in the end zone. It was like they were trying to force it. They were trying to make this thing happen. And then as soon as it's Jacoby Brissett, suddenly it's, Trey McBride going off. Do you worry at all that like Kyler maybe is just not the same player he used to be? He's not able to see over the joke is can't see over the offensive line, but it's kind of not a joke. Do you have any concerns there?
So, and we see this with multiple like shorter quarterbacks, even going back to Drew Brees, Russell Wilson. Here's the thing is usually those issues are in the middle of the field, and Jefferson, he can line up in the slot, but he can easily line up wide and toast anyone out wide as well. So Kyler had no issue getting the ball to Hopkins for a ton of touchdowns. Right. And I do think the offense is just more favorable here. I just don't think he was a great fit for the Drew Petzing offense. I think Kevin O'Connell is one of the better play callers out there, and he'll play to his strengths, and Jefferson's just too good. I mean, honestly, he could have had a bunch of touchdowns last year. He was just getting airmailed balls by J.J. McCarthy. So. Yep.
I'm going to acknowledge chat. What's up, Charles? Meg in here. I have not yet caught the stream with your dad and Meg. I assume that was a good time. Did you enjoy having your dad out in public, or is that weird for you to see your dad on the stream?
Yeah, no, it was good. And Meg did a question and answer with him of like which kid essentially. So I got thrown under the bus a few times, but it's all good.
Is it just the two of you?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Nice. And Meg is older, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah. For about 4 years apart.
Okay. All right. We're about to be up on the clock again. So we have Saquon and Justin Jefferson. This is kind of a wide open range. Do you like going running back here with Javonte, Jacob, Scadaboo? Do you like going wide receiver?
I think I'd still lean wide receiver here. I'm a big McConkey bull this year. I think Mike McDaniel, Lad McConkey signed me up for that. I just think this offense could absolutely be incredible. And not just with that, but keep in mind they had no offensive line last year, especially when Joe Alt got injured, particularly the second time and now for the rest of the year. They should have both bookend tackles back. They went out and got Tyler Biadasz, got some more depth along the O-line. Here, I'm fine either Javonte or Jacobs or still wide receiver. Mbuka's fine. I probably would lean Javonte, but
I am not able to click Javonte for some reason. But okay. We got Ibuka. I don't know. It was not letting me queue up Javonte.
Yeah, that's weird. But I think Mbuka is a good click here as well.
Yeah. I guess that's by my rankings. It was Ibuka, so I'm fine with Ibuka. That was really strange though. That I guess I should have just clicked and then clicked it within. But usually I just don't have any issue with the queuing a player up. So I don't know what's going on there. But Ibuka, I think it's fine. Like I was kind of a toss up. I have a lot more Javonte. I have a ton of Javonte teams. I think Ibuka works anyway, so I'm not even mad about that one. Usually, if I don't get the click I want, I'm like, oh, that sucks. But in this case, I don't really care. So that works out.
Yeah, and this is another situation, Mbuka with Mike Evans moving on, and I don't think it's as clear cut like he's the true alpha. I think it's going to be, Chris Godwin, if healthy, could play, quite the role this year, but. Look, last time Baker had a McVay disciple in Liam Cohen, it was pretty damn good 2 years ago. He gets another one in Zach Robinson again, who Zach Robinson was his quarterback coach for that 6 game sample when he was in the Rams. So I think people ignore that to an extent. And McVay and Mayfield is playing for a contract. It might get done before the season, but I just think there could be some big bounce back here. For the first 7 weeks last year, Mayfield was looking good also, and then everyone was getting injured around him. I think it's a low-key offense that people just aren't giving enough credit. Like, you look at the ADPs, and Buka's top 40, but the next receiver is around pick 100 and Godwin, and then McMillan in 140s. Tight end goes late. Nobody knows what to do with the running backs. But easily could be a top 10 offense.
Yeah, and I honestly struggle with it. So I use the sidekick. The sidekick is very much a little bit low. I shouldn't say very much, but kind of low on Jalen McMillan, kind of high on Ted Hurst. How do you view that wide receiver room? Like, do you have a strong lean?
Yeah, so there were some comments about Ted Hurst is an X, and we're going to have Mbuka as the Z, and that means Godwin's the slot, and then it's where does McMillan go? Because his best positions are Z slot. That is kind of the issues. Their 3 best receivers are probably the exact same guy, slot or Z's. But at the same time, Ted Hurst coming from a smaller school. I'm sure he can be out there to run some deep balls, but I struggle to believe he's going to just walk into a starting role for this team. It is also a pretty complicated offense. These Shanahan McVay offenses, they can be very complicated because you need to do a lot of run blocking as your wide receiver. You need a block for other receivers. So I just don't know if Hurst is going to be able to earn that.
I thought for a second we might be adding Bucky Irvin here. I don't know if that's the way you would have wanted to go anyway, but could have added to our Tampa stack. But we'll have a number of strong options with our next pick. Trevion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, Bajal Tootin, Brian Thomas. Anybody you like here particularly?
I think I would lean Trevion Henderson. Particularly this being a BBM, the spike week upside and ability for him to separate in a playoff week that is large, it's not a 1 of 5. So he has that 25, 30-point game in one of those weeks. This team moves on.
So Tootin and Parker Washington go between us. Now we have Jordan Tyson, Drake May, BTJ. Anybody else you like here?
I think BTJ. I think there could be a big bounce back here, and just again looking for spike week. This wide receiver room I think is now very strong. Running back, a little bit more, hit or miss depending on what we're getting in Henderson, but I think we can still build around it with Barkley as the anchor. And I like Drake May a lot, but didn't feel the need to push, especially when we have quarterback options like Herbert, Kyler, Baker, Lawrence also now.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun spot to be in because we have Ladd McConkey and BTJ. It's not super unlikely that we could have both of their quarterbacks coming back to us at 83, or at least one of them. We'll have to cross that bridge when we get there, because we'll have to, if we want Trevor Lawrence, we'd have to take him probably with 83, because we do have the little Jacksonville stack at the turn. But that is something we can cross that bridge when we get there. I wanted to continue acknowledging chat. First of all, Jay Telford says no flannel. This qualifies as flannel. As long as I have the hat on, you can't complain that I'm not wearing flannel. Mike Robb kind of trolling us. Stephen Neal, watch out. Senior ladies at the bingo hall. These two are wild. Come on, Mike. First of all, happily married, not looking for ladies at the bingo hall. Also, in case you didn't know, I can touch rim. So I can't be that old if I can still touch rim. A young 42. What's going on? David, Jim, good to see you. Jim did his first show on the channel last week. That was a big success. Loved that. He's going to be going live Wednesday night this week. I don't know what this means. Paul says, Mike Robb, you're tracking this one. Do you know what this means, Steve?
Yeah, we are. Mike Robb is for our Fanspeak YouTube members. Any draft that we do that a YouTube member is in, Mike Robb has created. He's tracking all of them and assigning. It's essentially a tournament. So he was saying that. Is this going to count for the tracking?
That's great. Okay. Corey wants to know if you have maxed the German Shepherd Superflex yet.
No, I got a couple more to do. So I think I looked earlier, it's like 70%. I had to double check, but definitely want to.
Yeah. Debro says he was repping the FV. He's out on Lad. So I feel like Lad, people are all over the place on Lad this year. I think the latest buzz was that he is the clear top receiver. He's going to be the focal point of the offense, I think was a quote that came out this week. I think that's kind of the assumption already that he was going to be the focal point, at least of the passing game, but still good to hear, because it is like QJ was pretty good last year. They could have come out and said like, oh, it's going to be a balanced attack with QJ and Trey Harris going to take a step forward. So it's good to hear them at least come out and say, we're expecting Lad to be the guy. I'm sort of like middle of the pack on Lad personally. I'm like shooting for 8%, just because that range to me is just, it confounds me. That range of like of Egbuka and Lad and Luther Burden and Tedero McMillan, like I just can't pick my favorite there.
Yeah, I think my thing is I think this offense could just go to the moon. We have a great quarterback in Herbert, now the O-line, and we'll make this pick, and then I do want to, and we might be taking Herbert here. Oh no, we just
Herbert went, yeah.
So do you want to go Lawrence?
I'd be fine going Lawrence unless you'd rather go with a running back or something.
I think Lawrence makes the most sense.
Yeah.
And then, we can get Kyler as our number 2, maybe.
Yeah.
Not this coming around, but in next group of picks. Turn. So.
Yeah, I like Lawrence there. And we were in a nice spot having the inside track on the turn there, who probably would have taken him.
Exactly. So.
Jalen Warren, RJ Harvey.
I'm personally Rico Dowdle over Warren. I think the ADPs just need to flip. I really do. I think people forget that over the last 2 years, Rico has as many catches as Jalen Warren does. People assume Jalen Warren's this massive pass catching back, and he's average. And Rico, despite himself splitting time these last 2 years, has done the exact same work.
Do you ever consider, so we took Rico Dowdle ahead of Jalen Warren here. Do you ever like try to even out your exposures? Because this would have been a spot where like, well, we're getting Jalen Warren, 10 picks past ADP. Sometimes even when I have the lean of like, I think Rico Dowdle's better, I'll still sometimes take Warren in a spot like that. Just like if I have that take, just to even out the exposures. But are you that much like Dowdle ahead of Warren that you always take Dowdle when they're both there, or do you sometimes take Warren anyway?
There are sometimes I take Warren. I do think here with the structure that we're working with a guy like Travion, I think part of Dowdle's value is he's just going to get more carries, so he probably has a much stronger floor, in addition to much better touchdown upside than Jalen Warren. So I think, even if Dowdle and Warren kind of share this role more evenly than I expect it to be, because I do think Dowdle will have the heavy lean, then I think he's just a really good floor play, and that balances with Travion a lot more.
That's true. It works out with this specific build, regardless of whether it would be a fall. We got sniped on Scadaboo. I assume he would have been your pick at some point. Are you as high on Scadaboo as Meg? Or
I think nobody's as high as. But I do love Scadaboo. I think people, I don't understand what people are like. People are willing to take Judkins, but not Scadaboo. Scadaboo outplayed Judkins last year. They had the same injury, and Judkins got injured a month and a half later. And just the offenses. I don't think the Giants are going to be world beaters, but I think they're going to be far superior to the Browns this year. The Giants are building for the run. They drafted, their O-line that was actually more impressive last year than I think anyone gave them credit for. They brought back Ellen Lenore. They drafted an offensive lineman. They brought in a fullback, Patrick Ricard. They're going to run probably a lot more 2 tight end sets. So I just think they're setting themselves up to be pretty good against the run. And even Jackson Dart made that quote saying, like, we're just going to hand it to Scadaboo all the time. So,
yeah, no, I'm drafting a lot of Scadaboo. I think he's in for a big season once again. The team has basically confirmed that also. So same page as you. Good to see Huhames in chat. I know Huhames going to have W for Omega on his channel, so I'm going to have to check that one out after we are done streaming. Good to see Hartman here. Debro is on Hurst, interesting over McMillan. We got a 0 RB team going on here. Jack says, let's see it. Well, I guess we're about to make our pick, so let's do that first. So by ADP, it would be Dart, Pittman, Fannin, Pitts, Kenny Gainwell. We could just go Kyler, obviously, with the stack.
Let's go Kyler, and I think if we can push Gainwell past the turn, I would target Gainwell as well.
Yep. That works for me. I was curious to hear your thoughts on Tampa running backs.
Oh, this guy took Baker a little early, but because I thought there was even a chance if we wanted to go through three quarterback, you could. Sometimes Baker falls.
Yeah, to the next one.
And I thought with Mbuka Gainwell we could push that, but it's fine. I still think it's good. I think the way I look at Tampa is Bucky clearly has some talent, but he had zero carries inside the 5 last year, and he had like 180 carries. Like it's not like he was injured for a significant amount, but it's not like this guy had 60 carries. He had 0 inside the 5. I think Gainwell is the secondary goal line back. Obviously, Sean Tucker is the goal line back, but Gainwell will probably get most of the rest. And then Gainwell is just a better pass catcher. Like Bucky's a good pass catcher, but Gainwell I think is superior in that regard. So I think Bucky just he's going to be up until the 20-yard line, and like he's not going to play a lot of third downs, and he's not going to play inside the 20. And that's where a lot of extra fantasy points are scored. Like if you're not a big touchdown guy, you kind of need to rack up catches to balance it out. You need to get some touchdowns. And I just think Bucky's going to have a lot of these like 70, 80-yard games. And that's like combined yardage, like 60, 70 rushing, 10 to 15 receiving. And, he'll have his share of like 10 to 15 point games, but probably very few serious spike weeks. And, I just think Gainwell has more upside there.
Yeah, I struggle with so Bucky I did my first best ball stream with Mathology like in must be February, maybe March. And at that point I was really high on Bucky Irving. I was like, I don't understand why he's not going much earlier. But then since they added Kenny Gainwell and they've already got Sean Tucker, we really have gotten lower and lower. It's just like, man, it's hard to see like the Omega upside for Bucky when he is being squeezed on all sides. So yeah, I'm kind of the same way where I'm like, I'm never excited to click Bucky anymore. And maybe I should be more than I am. Like when he falls to the, late 5th round, like it's probably a good spot because he, maybe has contingent upside too if anything happens to either Sean Tucker or Kenny Gainwell. But yeah, it's sort of a tough click for me also. So I think we're kind of on the same page there. I'm also, do you draft much Sean Tucker?
Yeah, I mean, he started to move up to the point where I don't necessarily get him as much, but I was taking him a fair amount.
We are a 2-4-4-0 build right now. We're on the clock again. Do you have anybody in mind here? Chris Rodriguez is, we could add to the stack, or Jaden Higgins, Coker.
I'm actually high on Chris Rodriguez, so I don't mind doing that. I know that's a lot of investment at running back, but I do think it is another player who helps balance out the Hendo spike week upside. I think Rodriguez is just honestly the more expensive Sean Tucker. And people say, well, why are you taking the more expensive Sean Tucker? I know there's a lot of Tootin' Bulls out there, but I don't know if Liam Cohen's one of them, and that's my big thing. I do think he's a big Chris Rodriguez fan. Here, I like Coker a lot. I don't mind some of the other picks, but I like Coker quite a bit.
All right, yeah, I'm happy to get a Coker share. Now we're at 2-5-5-0, so we'll have to focus on some tight ends. Probably a 3+ tight end build ultimately, but I think we're in a nice spot here.
Yeah, my thought with pushing tight end was, 2 of our tight ends, our current stacks go later, Strange and Hawkinson. That could be like our next 2 picks.
Yeah.
And then there's some other tight ends in that range that they get taken, like the sidekick saying like Hunter Henry or Chig or something like that. So, because I really like Hawkinson again getting a quarterback upgrade, and then Strange. I mean, they just paid him big money. Like he's clearly a significant part of this offense. And I think people forget like he was on pace for a top 10 year if he didn't get injured last year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited to get some to if we can get Brenton Strange on this team, he would be a great fit with our stack. Hawkinson, do you have any concerns with Hawkinson of like the same thing as Trey McBride? Like his targets are going to be over the center of the field, or do you think because he's playing with Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson, like takes away the attention from the
Yeah.
the part of like the defense we're trying to stop Trey McBride? So I don't. Do you think it affects him at all that Kyler has trouble seeing over the center of the field?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if Hawkinson has, extreme upside, kind of like what he was looking at like a couple years ago when they traded for him and he was just on this tear. But where he's going now, I think he can easily pay off his price. So I just look at Hawkinson. He's not super old. He's now 2 years removed from the injury and, 1 year removed from just terrible quarterback play. So I think that raises everyone's profile in Minnesota. And what I do like is the fact that, the running game is secondary. Like I talked before about, the Shanahan tree is very running back centric in a lot of places. Minnesota is the one exception. They just don't seem to care.
Yeah, a lot of tight ends coming off the board. Sadly, both Hunter Henry and Brenton Strange and Chigakonkwo going. So we're losing to a little bit of a run here. I'm not
Yeah.
that upset about it though, because we have so many late tight ends that I like that it's like if I
Yeah.
don't get the early tight ends I like, I never feel like compelled to reach for a tight end. So I
Agreed.
think would you have wanted if Isaiah Likely had not gone to the turn, would you
I
have
would have.
preferred
I would
him
have
over
said.
Coker?
I
Yeah.
would have. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of where I was also like, yeah, if he comes back, I wouldn't mind getting Isaiah Likely. I do think Chris Rodriguez was still the better pick for us there. Like I think he fit our team really nicely.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Like I'm not super upset about losing out on Isaiah Likely because we have
Me too.
backup tight end options that'll work out just fine for us. And we could like if we need to, we could do 4 tight ends. Like I think there's enough tight ends left that I think we're just fine.
Agreed. No, I completely agree. And the tight end market just to me it hasn't corrected.
Is a Hawkinson for you here for the stack? Or
I
do you
think
like
I think
Kenyon?
so. I think it
Yeah,
makes the most sense.
yeah. Let's do it. I don't draft a ton of Kenyon Sadiq. This is where I would when he's falling a little bit, but
Yeah. I think Tucker I was hoping Tucker would come back, but this, I thought
would you
so
consider 3 quarterback with Bryce here?
I'm more 3 quarterback. Like I still think there's enough value to it. So I think with not getting Tucker, there's no other screaming value. We don't need a running back. Sadiq doesn't wow me. If we had Herbert, maybe Trey Harris, but we got Lawrence. So I think Bryce makes the most sense here.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah, I think it's like we've already made the bet on Jalen Coker. Like the only way Jalen Coker is any good this year, I mean, I guess Tet injury, Tet or T-Mac injury could happen. But other than that, it's like the ways that Coker gets there is that the offense overperforms what we're expecting. So I think it makes sense on a Jalen Coker team to add Bryce Young. Corey thinks that the game script favors Gainwell because he'll be the pass getting back. I think that makes sense. Do you like Dylan Sampson for that kind of same reason? Like that's part of me is like after they traded away Myles Garrett, I've thought like, well, that team could be pretty bad, and that could favor pass catching back in Dylan Sampson.
No, I think that's a very fair take. I have probably going to end up around 8% Samson just because I don't want to get too crazy on any Brown, with the exception of maybe Concepcion. I'm a big fan of Concepcion and don't mind Boston, but that's more like price relative to role. So no, I think, and we saw it week 1 last year, and I know there was no Judkins, but Samson like 7 catches, week 1 last year. And they kind of got away from it, but yeah, there's no Jerome Ford now who could have a similar role. So it should just be Sampson, and I think Monken. We saw it with the Ravens. Like Justice Hill was his third down guy, and I think we could see Sampson play a very similar role.
Yeah. David wants to know, why do you think Dowdle gets more carries than Warren? Vegas has their rush lines even. How confident are you that if everybody stays healthy, that it's going to be Dowdle getting more carries?
I mean, I'm very confident. I mean, Jalen Warren just edged out, Gainwell in carries, and Gainwell's never been a high volume carry guy. When this offense, the 3 previous years with Najee absolutely dusted him in carries every single year. And Rico is the similar build and profile, of course, as Najee. And I actually think this is what we're going to see. I mean, Najee, similarly to what I was saying about Rico, part of the reason why Jalen Warren never stacked like 80 catches is because Najee was a good enough pass catcher. And I think Dowdle's going to do the same. So, and I also think Dowdle will get all the goal line touches. Last year was kind of a split role between Warren and Gainwell, but historically it's not been Warren.
Right. Man, Dulcich goes. I know that was the one. Debro wanted us to throw Dulcich on to the team. I think he would have made sense on the team, but Dulcich goes a bit ahead of ADP. We still have, again, plenty strong options here if we want to go double tight end. Do you have a lean here?
I like Gunnar Helm to start, and then maybe even Cade Otton if he does get pushed through. But I like Gunnar Helm. They added no tight end. He should be the clear starter, and could theoretically be like the number 3 option on the team.
Knowing that the turn has Baker Mayfield, would you have considered going Otton first, or do you think?
I still think Helm has a higher upside.
Yeah, I think I prefer Helm anyway.
Like Otton is a great floor play, I think. But I think that's kind of it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. Like, I don't know, he's spiked at times when all the wide receivers are out. So I guess that is his path to upside is, we get an Igbuka injury, but feels kind of thin with, all the receiver. It's kind of a deep receiver room now with Hurst, I think.
No, I agree. And even Tez Johnson showed enough last year.
Yeah. So Otton does go.
I think I would probably, we could take tight end, or do you want to go a receiver?
Yeah. Is there a receiver you like here?
I like Jeremy Bernard quite a bit. I think the Steelers are going to be one of the highest teams in 11 personnel this year. One point that I've made before is we all saw on draft night where they were going to take Mekhi Lemon in the first round. And, then Philly obviously traded up for him. And then next chance they get to take a slot receiver is Aaron Bernard in the mid-second round. So to me, they have a clear priority. This is after the investment in DK, after the investment in Pittman. They wanted to make another significant investment. And I think Aaron Bernard showed at Alabama. He outperformed Ryan Williams at Alabama. He's very NFL ready. Does he have the highest ceiling in the world? No. But I do think he's going to be out there quite a bit. And, we'll hit your lineup a fair number of times.
And I know the Shoups, as a family, are high on the Steelers, so Jeremy Bernard makes sense there. And he posted his workout clip this week, looked pretty good. Or I think today came out with a workout clip for Jeremy Bernard that looked pretty good. Yeah, I've been pretty high on Bernard. Also, on the other hand, Sauce Edwards says that Hawkinson posted a workout clip that he looked rough in. I mean, that's surprising. Why would you post a workout clip if you don't look great in the workout clip? I guess I haven't seen that one.
I didn't see that one. I know everyone was talking about the Xavier Worthy one last week.
Yeah, right. But that was something somebody else posted, right? I assume that wasn't him posting it.
I think I don't know. I thought secondhand. I think it was on his IG, is what I heard. But
yeah. Jack says, when you draft, do you ever look at other teams to help tinker/improve strategy? If so, any teams you like in this draft? I wouldn't say that I'm looking personally to like learn from the other teams in my draft. But we're in like the exact spot where I do look at other teams because I know like we have the inside eye. So like that's part of the reason that we took Trevor Lawrence at 83 instead of trying to push him, is because we knew if we didn't take him, probably the turn, because they have Keaton and Washington was going to take him. And at the same time, this was in a case where I would have maybe considered taking Otton before Helm, just in the thought of like, if we want both of them, you probably got to go Otton first because we knew he has Baker Mayfield, so they're probably going to take Cade Otton at the turn. We decided that was not a big enough reason because we just prefer Gunnar Helm anyway. But these are the places where I look at other teams, is like it'll affect what I think I can do as far as like getting which players are more likely to come off the board if I don't take them, that kind of thing. Do you ever look at teams, Steve, for the purpose of like trying to learn from other teams that you're drafting against, or is it mostly just determining what you're trying to do?
Yeah, more determining what I'm trying to do. I mean, there are times where I'll see a team and it's like, let's say it's a 0 RB, and I'm like, oh, I like the way they handled that, and maybe that sparks something there. But It's not something I'm actively doing, but sometimes I do notice this, and this is more from being as streaming and then looking through some teams that way. Because I think if we're all trying to draft the same in a draft, it's just not going to work. There's only, if everyone's going robust running back, it's just not going to work that way. Or everyone going 0 RB, it's not going to work that way either. You need to have some teams doing it. Obviously, we can't all get 3 quarterbacks. We can't all get 3 tight ends. I mean, you can, but there can be some really bad players.
Right.
So, you do need to kind of have to approach each draft like what works.
All right, let's go by ADP. Gross. Do you like Christian Kirk?
I probably like Cooper Kupp. Let's just to me, he's a good floor play. I think Seattle throws the ball a lot more this year. As for what we do with this other pick.
So we've got only TJ Hawkinson and Gunnar Helm at tight end. I'm thinking I probably want another one, but do you differ on that? Is there somebody else you like?
No, I think I know the direction I would go. Okay. Just in case Alexander isn't here, I don't want to.
Yeah.
So he went Ingram. For me, it would be Colby Parkinson. So unless he's doubling up tight end here.
All right, I'm going to queue him up. All right, Colby Parkinson it is. Tell me about your Colby Parkinson. I'm not going to call it love because it's an 18th round pick, but why do you like Colby Parkinson here?
Well, I think he's just a red zone guy, and he had 8 touchdowns, and granted 4 of those were when Davante Adams was out last year. But at the same time, a lot of guys spiked when Davante Adams was out last year. Puka went from wide receiver 5 to wide receiver 1. Corm had, usable weeks every week without Davante Adams, and yet we're okay still drafting them at their current ADPs. For some reason, we've forgotten about Parkinson. I understand the ad Max Clare. I understand the second-year guy in Ferguson, but I think Parkinson's going to be out there the most. He's the guy who blocks. He's the guy who's going to be definitively out there in the red zone. Is he going to be out there on the 2-minute drill at the end of the game? No. Not that I think the Rams are going to be in a lot of 2-minute drills at the end of the game with Myles Garrett, but he's going to be out there for basically every red zone snap, and that's what I care about, because anytime he gets a touchdown, he's ripe to hit our lineup.
Didn't he scored touchdowns in 6 consecutive games last year, right? If I'm remembering correctly, he's just going to be, and he's 6'7", he's giant.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think it's a good shout out. It's funny. I noticed that Davis came out and was like, Terrence Ferguson is going to be my highest drafted player. And then probably just by coincidence, I kept on getting Colby Parkinson recommended by the sidekick, which I thought was very funny. But then, the more I've looked into it, I listened to the Establish the Edge podcast. They talked about that a bit. And I was like, yeah, I am totally forgetting about Colby Parkinson, getting excited about the shiny new toy in Terrence Ferguson. But Colby Parkinson was just pretty good last year. And, I drafted a ton of Tyler Higbee last year. He missed time. He even towards the end of the year, he was kind of an afterthought for that offense. Seemed like they weren't going to give him a huge role. I was sort of surprised that they signed him to another contract. They seem to throw decent money at Tyler Higbee, which scares me a little bit, but I think for the most part, they seem to be moving in the direction of some of the, younger guys. So Parkinson, I think, actually, I don't know exactly how young Parkinson is, but younger than Higbee at least.
He's a couple years younger.
I like that call. Yeah. In Hawkins' defense, his hair looked great. Hawkins' hair always looked great. He's like a Holland, who I actually haven't been watching the World Cup, but he comes across my feed constantly as all this Holland love. All right. So the final team, 3-5-7-3. We have Trevor Lawrence, Kyler Murray, Bryce Young, Saquon Barkley, Trevion Henderson, Rico Dowdle, Kenny Gainwell, Chris Rodriguez, Justin Jefferson, Lad McConkey, Emeka Egbuka, Brian Thomas, Jalen Coker, Jeremy Bernard, Cooper Kupp, TJ Hawkinson, Gunnar Helm, and Colby Parkinson. I think it works. I think this is a nice team. What do you think, Steve?
I do too. I think there's just a lot of upside in the quarterback play. We saw with Lawrence particularly second half of the year last year. Kyler Murray, for all the people who are haters, he's finished top 12 in points per game quarterback scoring every year of his career, even his injured years. And now he gets, the best coach he's ever worked with and an elite receiver. So I feel really good about that. The Saquon, Hendo, Dowdle, Gainwell. I mean, we talked about all those guys. There's a chance that we have 5 lead backs. And even if we don't, I think it's still fine because they can just, alternate and oscillate usage, and then Saquon being the guy. I think Jefferson, McConkey, Ibuka, Brian Thomas, that could be just a fantastic wide receiver room with some, good floor guys behind them in Coker, Bernard, and Cup as well. So that's kind of the way I approached it. And then, Hawkinson, Helm, and Parkinson, kind of what you said, like I'm not going to reach for tight end when you can get starter, and, red zone weapon at the end here.
Yeah, I think the team really came together pretty nicely, without any great followers or anything, with the one, Ibuka not being the player that we were attempting to take. I still think it worked out really well. I've been excited about BTJ. Sounds like you're also pretty excited about BTJ, just because we've seen the upside as long as he's healthy, if he can just get on the same page as Trevor Lawrence. Curious to hear your thoughts as I'm going to go enter another BBM for us, but I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on the Jacksonville receiving core overall.
Yeah, there's no doubt it's tough, and in some ways that's why I like approaching Jacksonville through Brenton Strange, because both the running back room and wide receiver room I think are more wide open. But the way I look at it, BTJ is he plays a different role. Parker Washington, Jacoby Myers, even Travis Hunter, none of them are playing the X. Like, he's the only guy who really can fit the X, and unlike the whole Ted Hurst debate, he's actually done it in the NFL. Like, we know he has this role. And he might not lead the team in targets. Maybe that is Parker Washington. Maybe that is Jacoby Myers. I lean more Jacoby Myers, just because they paid him, they traded for him. I know there's rumors that they could be extending Parker Washington, and at times he looked really good. And I think on a lot of other teams, I'd be really excited for Parker Washington. I just think he gets squeezed potentially in this room with BTJ there, Myers, and then even Travis Hunter. I don't think we should forget how good Travis Hunter can be. Honestly, in terms of just raw talent, he might be the most talented receiver on this team. It's just he's the most talented corner on this team as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the tricky thing with Travis Hunter. Yeah, Parker Washington, it's really interesting hearing the debates on Parker Washington and honestly, like kind of all of the Jacksonville receivers. Yeah. I feel like these are just overall like some of the most polarizing receivers. Like Jacoby Myers, kind of his own thing. I think everybody's like, yeah, he's probably fine where he goes. Other than Jacoby Myers, though, it's like people are either like really in or really out on BTJ. Same thing with Parker Washington. Yeah. I see people. CBK posted on Twitter this week, I judge your intelligence based on whether you're drafting Travis Hunter. I think he's anti-Travis Hunter. I'm super in on Travis Hunter where he's going, just for the upside of what if he plays a lot of receiver and I think he's really good. Yeah. It's really funny seeing the difference of opinions on these guys. I've been trying to actually get closer to even. I've been super out on Parker Washington. I'm trying to pick that up, getting to more Parker Washington, because I've talked to enough short people that are really in on him. But like you said, part of that is because I'm assuming he's going to get this big contract. Like, we don't know that for sure. That like that's the rumor, is that he's about to sign this big contract, and like people keep talking about like the people who are out on him compare him to Travis Fulgham. Like, do you remember Travis Fulgham's big 4 games and then he disappeared the following year? And like, well, what if Parker Washington is that? If he signs a big contract, to me, there's just no way that he's Travis Fulgham, because Fulgham, like, for his career, made I think like $1.6 million total. Yeah. Like, it's not the same thing as Parker Washington to me. But that also kind of assumes that he does sign a pretty big contract this year. So I think that is something to watch.
Well, I mean, and I agree, like him signing a contract would help, but it's like, so did Jacoby Myers. And so, Brian Thomas is a mid first round pick who already has 1,000-yard year. And of course, Travis Hunter, I get CBK's point to an extent, but at the same time, it's like, this guy's so talented and teams favor offense. It's an offensive minded coach. Like, if this was Sean McDermott or something like that, I'd be like, okay, yeah, he's going to want his best corner being a corner. But if this offense struggles at all, you don't think they're going to be like, okay, Travis Hunter, you're playing more on offense. We need to get this thing going. We're paying Trevor Lawrence $60 million a year. We're not going to maximize him.
Right. Well, and people made this point last year all the time, but I think it's still true. Like, Travis Hunter can make more money as a receiver than a cornerback. So certainly the player wants to, you'd think, like, I don't know why he's just not going full receiver, frankly, but like to maximize the amount of money he's going to get, he should be trying to play receiver. So
absolutely.
And the team has said that they want, they respect his wishes. So yeah, I think.
Yeah. And that's what I think other people don't get there. They're like, well, the team's going to make him be a corner. It's like, people are saying, that the names escape me. The quarterback the Browns took from Arkansas in the
Shedeur
fourth round.
Sanders or no
No,
from
no,
Arkansas?
not
Uh,
Trey Lance. Taylon Green. Taylon
okay,
Green.
yeah,
And they're saying because he's just a freak athlete and he could be the next Terrell Pryor or the next guy to make a conversion, but he wants to be quarterback. That's fine. And if he has the right to say what his position is, you mean to tell me Travis Hunter doesn't have the right to
right,
say what his position is?
yeah, exactly. Travis Hunter, if he wants to play wide receiver, which he says he does, like they're going to find some reps for him.
Yeah.
It is a question of like, is that going to be 30% rep participation, or is it going to be like, could he in some games play 60% even without an injury? Like, is that within the range of outcomes? And we don't really know, but I'd be willing to bet that it's he's going to have some spike weeks at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, we went from the 11 hole to the 12 hole, so we not ideal to be getting all these. And or at least in my opinion, did you have the same opinion? Do you prefer drafting in the top half of the board, or do you
I actually don't mind the back half of the board just because I like the combos you get, especially in like rounds 3, 4, and 5, 6. Because the 2-3 turn at the front end I actually think is kind of weak. Unless you get some really good falls. Because it feels like your draft like Brees Hall or Cam Scatterboo. Honestly, Cam Scatterboo I think is better odds to outscore Brees Hall, and just from pure touchdown upside, not to mention the fact they could have similar target numbers, and not just Scatterboo, but any number of running backs like taking 10 picks later.
Right.
Like DeAndre Swift, I think can outscore him. Here I'd go James Cook, and if we want to mix it up, probably Hampton. But I don't mind. I mean, I love Barkley, so.
Do you should we just go Barkley again? What's your thought?
Yeah, let's go Barkley again. It's I know it was a bad year last year, but I think that was mainly somewhat offensive line. But I think it was a lot of the Kevin Petula offense, which was real bad.
Yeah, so we're expecting improvement there. James Cook to last year, you were trying to get me to draft, or you did get me to draft, I should say. We drafted several James Cook shares. I was largely underweight on James Cook. Ended up being a smash. Obviously, now he is a first-round pick. So you're following up. So drafted him in the late third last year, early fourth. I don't remember exactly where it was going. Tougher click here, but you're still in on James Cook.
Yeah, and I've heard people say, well, he still finishes like running back 6, and it's like, okay. I mean, it's just this guy, he's shown that he can do it multiple ways. 2 years ago, it was more in the passing game. Last year, the passing game kind of evaporated, but it was just touchdowns. He had explosive runs, he had inside the 5-yard runs, and they added nothing to the running back room. If anything, one thing I like, and this is for Josh Allen as well, I think DJ Moore obviously helps Josh Allen, but also opens up things for James Cook. You're not stacking the box the same way when there's a legitimate receiving threat out there. I think that helps him, and just this offense in general, going to Joe Brady, giving him the full keys to this team. I just mentioned Sean McDermott. Like he was very content to play for a lot of 48-yard field goals. I don't think that's going to be the case, with Joe Brady. Not when you have Josh Allen, not when you have James Cook, not when you have DJ Moore, and any games that Kincaid's healthy. This could be it's always a fun offense, but it can be offensive, the true number one offense. So getting pieces of that who have just complete this much volume, this much touchdown upside, even if he loses a few touchdowns, he could gain it back in the passing game.
Right. I do want to note that this would have been a good one to get the 101 because we got Drake London fell all the way back to pick 24 here. Yeah. This is one where it's like, okay, I mean, in this case, would you have wanted the 101?
Yeah, that's when you get that fall. That's where I want that.
Yeah, you get a fall. Even like Nico, if I get Nico to fall back there, then I love the 101. It's just oftentimes you're picking from the same 5 or so players, and it does get kind of boring. So hopefully we can get a fun fall at the turn here, or just get a player that we like at the turn. But we did start running back. Do you frequently do like hyper fragile from the 1-2
I've definitely done it. I wouldn't say it's like my primary thing, and a lot of times I will I'm definitely Josh Allen here.
Okay.
I think
And
just
then
soaking up all this offense. Um, we also, did an article talking about like the advance rates of elite quarterback with elite running back, and Allen and Cook. And granted, the prices were slightly different last year, but it still advanced like 20% of the time. For me, yeah, Javante. I mean, we can do Scattaboo.
do you prefer
Let's
Javante?
do it for the brand.
All right, for the brand, we're doing Scattaboo. Oh, I queued him up just in case because I wasn't sure
Yeah.
if that would be your preference there. All right, so we're going high T with this team. We got Josh Allen stacked up with James Cook, Saquon Barkley, and Cam Scattaboo. So fully going into the non zero wide receiver build here, which is a little bit unique, but I think it makes sense, especially from this turn. Um, yeah, Josh Allen is one that also pretty polarizing. A lot of sharps and the Sims that I use. The sidekick, you rarely get Josh Allen at the top of the queue. He's when you kind of have to reach for him as far as the Sims go. If you want to take Josh Allen, which I do some, I suspect by the end of the year I am probably going to be underweight on Josh Allen overall, just because I like so many players in that range. But he is one that I sometimes do kind of bully it a little, bully the Sims and throw Josh Allen in there because, like you said, we can see the major upside with that offense. You started talking about some of the work that you do at Fanspeak. I know Meg would love for you to tell people where they can find that work. And of course, there is a promo code if you want to check out some of Steve's work at Fanspeak. If you use promo code Flannel, there's also a link in the description if you want to go find that Substack. But what can people find at
Yeah,
Fanspeak?
yeah. Two ways: Fanspeak Network on YouTube, where we do shows every day, but then our DGen Substack is, like you said, the promo code in the link. Appreciate that. It's 20% off for anyone who signs up, and it's a one payment for an entire year. So with the promo code, it's like under $30. Not only is it all the best ball content, which includes our best ball guide, over 400 pages. We have Spike Week charts for everyone. We highlight key stats for everyone. Do some pros and cons, and also strategy articles in there, which you also can find on the Substack as well. And but in addition to that, we do in-season content for DFS, the Underdog dailies, betting. So we have it covered all year. And yeah, I appreciate you sharing that out, and because if not, Meg would definitely yell at me later. But no, and we try to just produce content, both written and in our YouTube videos, to just look at things different ways. Like we've done a lot with the Superflex stuff. I had one final team last year in Superflex. We had multiple teams. Both Meg and I had a ton of teams in the semifinals. I think she had 2 or 3, and I had another 2 or 3 that just didn't make it all the way through. The year before, I had 3 Superflex finals teams. So it's a format I really like, and one of my favorites, because I think there is a lot of edge there if you do want to like take some time and look at it. Just with the way people draft, I think it quickly goes from 212 to 210, a lot of drafts.
And as I recall, I think and Meg said it's under $35 for the year. I can't remember exactly what she said, but it's less than $30
it's 35 normally, and then with the promo code, it's under 30.
Yeah, so if you want to check out all of the work at Fanspeak, they're working hard over there. I can tell you, I was looking through the guide and it's like, damn, I do not have time to read through this guide. You cannot skim it. It's going to take you some time if you want to go through the all the team by team and all the guides for different formats. There's a lot there, so it's pretty fun. All right, so we are back on the clock. BTJ goes the pick before us. We didn't get a fall on DJ Moore. Anybody else you like here?
Definitely Rome. Yeah, I was really hoping DJ Moore. Sometimes you get that fall. For the other pick, I'm kind of into maybe Tyler Warren and doing a 2 tight end build, because I don't love Jordan Tyson here, and I think Parker Washington would be a pull up. Where I think Tyler Warren and just go 2 tight ends, and we could go end up 2 quarterback also, and just throw a ton of volume at receiver. Might be the best approach for this team.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. We didn't get any great falls. DJ Moore went at 50 in this one, so pretty early for DJ Moore. The fun thing about Josh Allen, I will say, when I draft him is, you usually can get somebody. Like, even if you don't get the DJ Morphol, like pretty good chance we'll get a shot at Kincaid or Khalil Shakir. I still think is a pretty
Yep.
good bet. Do you do any late round Keon Coleman?
I do a little bit. He's essentially competing with Josh Palmer for the wide receiver 3 role. They'll be in 2 tight end a fair amount with Dawson Knox. But I think Coleman, the door is not totally closed on him. We've seen guys bounce back from first 2 year starts. There's enough raw ability and talent. And I think he was just kind of miscast his first 2 years. Everyone thought he'd be this savior to come in and fill in Steph Diggs' shoes. And no, that just wasn't going to happen. And now that doesn't have to occur. He can just be wide receiver 3, kind of a touchdown or bust guy. But for taking him in the 18th round, that's all we're expecting.
Yeah, he's somebody that Mathology, and I think you and Math maybe have similar approach to some extent, at least, because he was in on James Cook last year big time, and he has been telling me like, I think Keon Coleman, pretty strong late round pick this year. He's going pretty early last year, but now you get him in the 18th round, and you don't really need, like, if he scores 4 touchdowns, you're cooking. Like, that's pretty good for an 18th round pick. And
monster, yeah,
well within the range of outcomes for Keon Coleman, especially on a Josh Allen team, of course. I think that makes a lot of sense. What's up, Disbanded Brotherhood? We got some streamers in here. Off the Schneid, Candyman, Fantasy Football Garage, Toxic Tower in here. Good to see all of our fellow streamers joining us. Mike Robb asks, Neil, can you ask Steve why he has hate for Zay Flowers that rivals Baron Zemo's hate for the Avengers? I don't know who Baron Zemo is, but is it true that you hate Zay Flowers?
I don't hate Zay Flowers. I really like him as an NFL player. I don't think he's a great fantasy player, particularly an underdog with half-point PPR. Like DraftKings would be a little different with full point and even bonuses. But he just doesn't score a lot of touchdowns. And I know he ended up as a pretty decent wide receiver last year, but is all end of the year. And that includes week 18 if you really want, which, I do think we should give credence to. But up until like week 13, he was like wide receiver 27, wide receiver 30, something like that. And then he just had a great, end of the year run out. But he relies on getting touchdowns outside the red zone. And that's very, very tough for me for a guy in top 4 or 5 rounds.
Did he deal with injuries last year, or was it just Lamar being hurt? Because I feel like
just
there was
Lamar.
a lot of like weird stuff. Okay. So he was not hurt. They just, like, when Lamar was out, the offense kind of fell apart, right? That was kind of the story of the Ravens.
That was part of it, but he actually had a lot of like 6 for 60 games in that time frame. It's just he doesn't score a lot of touchdowns, and he closed the year pretty strong with touchdowns. If not, he would have had like 3 touchdowns last year.
Right. All right, so this is by ADP. Is there anybody particular like you? Is it Dowdle again?
I like Sutton, and then either Dowdle or an indie receiver.
Okay. Do you have a preference of the indie receivers?
I actually probably would lean Dowdle here, just because I think Dowdle. Like we already have Tyler Warren, and the I think indie receivers are fine here, but Dowdle, it's a tier break after Dowdle to me. Like the next groups are running backs. Maybe we would have gotten Gainwell back again, but otherwise, like we're talking, the Jordan Masons, the Aaron Jones, the Washington guys, just nowhere near as clear guys who can score even 150 fantasy points, much less what Dowdle has the upside to score 200 fantasy points.
Tell me about the Sutton pick, because Sutton is somebody that I haven't taken a ton of. My concern is like he was losing work last year to Troy Franklin at times, and then Pat Bryant looked like he was coming on. So I'm like, it's not totally clear to me that Sutton is like even the wide receiver 2 here, but maybe I'm crazy because he's been doing it for a long time. And last year he clearly took back that alpha role, at least after the Pat Bryant injury. So I don't know, but I have some concerns there. Do you have the same concerns, or are you confident that he's the wide receiver?
I don't. I think some people there were definitely games where Troy Franklin, had a bigger role than I expected. I think sometimes it was matchup. Like sometimes when like an alpha corner was on Sutton, they were just like, okay, we're just going to scheme away from the alpha corner. So we did see that, I think, a couple of times, but overall, to me, Cortland Sutton, he's, I think finished as a top 20 receiver the last 2 years with Bo Nix. I don't see why that entirely changes with Jalen Waddle, and especially he's actually one of the better red zone receivers in the league. He's not Devontae Adams, so he's kind of in that next tier, I think. And the Broncos ran really bad on passing touchdowns last year. I think there's a lot of room for improvement, just given Bo Nix's upside, Sean Payton and Davis Webb's upside as play callers. So Sutton's a guy who could get 10 touchdowns, and to get him at in the end of the 7th round seems crazy to me, because the other receivers down here don't have that kind of profile. I mean, a few like Metcalf, maybe Alec Pierce, if he's healthy, but most of these other receivers just don't have that kind of profile. And Sutton's actually a pretty good deep ball receiver also. He's not Jalen Waddle. I think Jalen Waddle likely leads the team in yards, but Sutton probably leads the team in touchdowns. And I think the gap between these two should be much closer, in my opinion.
So are you not as in on Jalen Waddle as kind of the rest of the industry? It seems like, all the touts that I follow are pretty in on Jalen Waddle. Are you less so in on Jalen Waddle, or do you just think that Sutton needs to be moved up?
I think they should be closer. I think Waddle should probably be more like 60-ish, and Sutton 70-ish, I think there should be like a round difference between them, not a 3-round difference between them.
Interesting.
But I am taking myself Waddle some.
Okay. We are just about to be up again. Do you like Bo Nix here, or who do you like?
I think Bo Nix is a good pick. And I don't mind. I don't think we need tight end. I don't think we need to go Gainwell again. Golden or Wandale, they're not my favorite, but I think they're fine. I think we just need wide receiver.
Do you have a preference? Or
let's go Golden. It's a bit more risky, but just the offense is better. And, with them losing Dobbs and Wicks, I think their wide receiver core is much more, clear now.
If I had not brought up Bo Nix, was he your preference over Jackson Dart? I wasn't trying to force your hand there, but I've been trying to I'm kind of in on Bo Nix this year as that could be a fast-paced offense, could be really high-powered. Are you super in on Bo Nix, or was that kind of a toss-up for you?
I'm definitely in on Bo Nix, particularly at this price. He's finished his quarterback 7 in total points the last 2 years. And like I said, they ran pretty bad in terms of passing touchdowns last year, given, if you just look at their success metrics in other areas. He could throw 30 touchdowns this year. I don't see why he can't, especially with them adding wide receiver like Waddle. So, no, I think Nix is undervalued. I don't know if people were still thinking this foot injury is going to affect him or something. It doesn't make sense to me why he goes so late, given what he's done in his first 2 years.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm very much in on Nix. I like Dart too, and I guess we could have added Dart onto the Scadaboo stack. Could have made some sense for us there, which is what the sidekick was recommending. But with just when we have Sutton, I feel like Nix makes a lot of sense on a Sutton team. But yeah, kind of fun. A lot of different directions that we could have gone there.
And I do like Dart, and I wouldn't have minded him, particularly where he's falling now. But boy, that's where I get the most wary with Matt Nagy is Dart. He had 2 young quarterbacks in his time in Chicago, Mitch Trubisky and then Justin Fields. He drafted Justin Fields. Didn't work out well with either one of them. So I don't know if he's the young quarterback whisperer I would want for Jackson Dart. Hopefully that's not the factor. And then just the whole, if there's no neighbors, I do think that limits Dart to an extent. He's then extremely reliant on his rushing touchdowns.
Yeah. Jim says that we needed Wandale. We took Matthew Golden instead of Wandale. To me, that's I typically I think take Wandale there, but it's kind of a toss up with those two. Sounded like you were kind of I don't really care either. Do you have a strong preference between Golden and Wandale?
I don't really have a strong preference. Pre-draft, when they signed Wandale, I was taking Wandale a ton, but then them getting Tate I think that changes it a little bit for me. But yeah, I mean, Golden, there's some risk here for sure. And I do think we need to throw a lot of volume at receiver, but I think it's a fine. Either way, I don't think there's a big gap.
All right, good news. We got Khalil Shakir to fall. I assume that would be, is that
Yeah,
one of your picks here? Yeah.
yeah. And I think we probably double up at receiver here.
Yeah. Do you like Higgins?
I'm Shaheed here. I like Higgins, but I like Shaheed. They paid him spike week upside. I think Seattle has to throw the ball a lot more this year. Not only Kenneth Walker leaving, Zach Charbonnet missing significant amount of time. Jadarian Price is just not. They were like third or fourth in carries last year. I just don't think that's going to materialize again this year. And then the other aspect is they have a tougher schedule. Also lost a lot on defense. They lost 3 secondary members, as well as a couple other people. It'll still be a good defense, but I just don't know if it's a shutdown unit it was a year ago.
That'll be good for the team in general, for the offense. If the
Yeah,
defense it takes a step back. And who are they playing in Week 17 this year? I forget. Is it
is it Carolina? It might be Carolina.
that might be right. Yeah, yeah. Because then we have my Jonathan Brooks kind of throw some water on my Jonathan Brooks love that they have a tough matchup in Week 17. But kind of counting on defense high variability year to year there.
Yeah, I just think a lot could change, and it's not like Sam Darnold was bad. It's just he just didn't throw the ball.
Yeah.
We saw it in the games where he did have to get pushed, like that Tampa game, or the first half of the Washington game where he threw 4 touchdowns. He just didn't throw the ball in the second half. So it's like, if we start seeing more games where he starts throwing the ball 35, 40 times, and that I guess is my thesis, then I think we're going to see just more. It's not just going to be JSN this year.
Yeah. Brad, good to see you. Mr. Bet says, just noticed I drafted a team versus y'all in the last one. Thank you for not sniping my dart. I don't remember when we didn't snipe your dart in the last one, but you are welcome.
But I think we took Kyler instead.
Okay, yeah. Because we had Jefferson, so yeah, preferred the stack there. So now our team, we're at 2-4-5-1. We have Josh Allen and Bo Nix, James Cook, Saquon Barkley, Cam Scatterbo, and Rico Dowdle at running back, Romo Dunze, Cortland Sutton, Matthew Golden, Khalil Shakir, and Rashid Shaheed at wide receiver, and then Tyler Warren at tight end. So yeah, I think wide receiver probably remains our biggest need here. Obviously, we'd like to add 1 to 2 more tight ends. Probably don't need another quarterback. Kind of depends on what falls to us. Sam Darnold goes, so we're not going to get that stack.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what kind of build do you foresee here for us?
Yeah, I think there's. I think only 2 tight end for sure. Unless it's our 17th and 18th round picks. So I think 5 running backs, 8 to 9 receivers, depending if we get a third quarterback or not.
Yep. Okay.
And
do you like Daniel Jones with Tyler Warren or?
Yeah, I think I would go Daniel Jones, Trey Tucker for this team.
Yep, I think that makes sense.
And I know people say like you have Allen and Nix, do you need Daniel Jones? I mean, Daniel Jones had plenty really good games last year. Maybe some of it takes a step back with him going up multiple leg injuries. But it's just another offense I like investing in. I really like Tyler Warren. And we got about a 10 pick fall on him. So I think that also helps as well.
Yeah, I think that was a good pick there. Like, I think I could have gone either way on Daniel Jones, but with the ADP value and when we already have it stacked up, like that's a case where I'd say, yeah, we'll just do a third quarterback on a Josh Allen team. Hope that it's Daniel Jones spiking just a few times throughout the year. And then I think Trey Tucker, a strong pick there at wide receiver. There are some others that we could have considered. Debo, somebody that I've drafted a lot of. It's kind of a boring click that I think will look good if he does sign somewhere, which I think is I think it's pretty likely that he signs somewhere, and then we're gonna feel better about the pick, kind of depending on where he goes to some extent. But regardless of where he goes, like at 160, I think he's a pretty strong pick. Yeah.
Yeah, 160. I think he could sign just about anywhere, and we feel like he could sign with the Rams to be their third wide receiver, and I think we'd
Yeah.
still be 100% okay with it.
Yeah. No, I think that you're right about that. The Raiders is, a team that gets thrown out there a lot for Debo Samuel. I think that could work out pretty well. But yeah, that would obviously hurt our Trey Tucker somewhat. But Trey Tucker, kind of a spike week guy, right? Like we saw the
Yeah.
40 burger that he threw out there last year. We kind of have a few of those with Trey Tucker, Rashid Shaheed, Matthew Golden.
That's why I think the Shakir pick was really good, because he's the floor play.
Yeah.
These other guys can spike and be touchdown guys.
Yeah, I think that's a nice balancing pick there with Shakir. Also, obviously fits because we have Josh Allen. I was really sweating that. We at this pick, I was like, man, we can get one of Kincaid or Shakir. Obviously, it would have been great to get both, but just to get one of them at 132 feels pretty good. And I think he's just like objectively a really strong pick at 132. I think Shakir, like he has a strong connection with Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm.
He's shown really awesome yak ability, like surprising for a guy his size. He's just great with the ball in his hand. So I think always fun. Like I think there's kind of a strong floor for Shakir. They're going to manufacture stuff for him.
Oh yeah, and even with DJ Moore, Shakir will probably lose some targets, of course, but I still think his floor is very strong. He'll still have multiple games, like 15 to 20 points, and then plenty in like the 10 range. So I guess, just to throw Mike Robb under the bus, but the difference between Khalil Shakir and Zay Flowers, I don't know, is that drastic. When we're taking him 100 picks later.
Damn. Yeah, you're out on Zay Flowers.
Well, it's not that. It's like their touchdowns are probably going to be very similar, and Zay's going to have more yards for sure. But how much more does he give me for the 100 pick discount?
Yeah. I'm pretty in on Zay Flowers. I will say, like, I just think that he could spike a bigger upside than he has shown so far. And we've seen kind of like periods of time with Zay Flowers. Just to me, if everybody can stay healthy, the offense is clicking. I guess I have higher hopes for Zay Flowers than you do. But yeah, I guess Khalil Shakir, we've seen him spike for some weeks also. Is it Gunnar Helm for you here?
I think Gunnar Helm. We just need a good, solid second tight end, and I think that makes a lot of sense.
And then
we talked Dylan Sampson. I don't mind Mitchell here as another spike week receiver.
Yeah, do you have a preference?
Let's go Mitchell. I think we need a more wide receiver help.
Yeah, me too. I like both those. Like Mitchell, I'm pretty high on, and we get him a little bit past ADP on a team that needs wide receiver help. So I think that works out. But I also I like Sampson enough that I would have been fine going that direction also. But yeah, I think either of them makes sense. We could potentially stop at 4 running backs here if we don't like what comes back of the next turn. Do you agree with that, or are you sure that you'd want 5 here?
I think what I would do, and this is, you asked me earlier about doing like 0 RB in this range. What I would do is I would target like a Ray Davis or Tank Bigsby, and it's like the same principle. It just gave me a little bit more insurance, but there's other running backs that sometimes fall back that we could take as well. So, it depends. Like if there's a screaming wide receiver value, like 2 wide receivers that just are at value, then stopping at 4 is fine. But at the same time, like tacking on Ray Davis to this team to give, and in particular when you have Josh Allen as well, like James Cook insurance, I think is a good pick.
Yeah, agreed. Like if we can get one of those, that would feel pretty good. And what do you think of Kamara? I was kind of debating, like, is Kamara a strong pick here? I go back and forth on him.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like Kamara's retiring. And as much as I like Travis Etienne, because they, clearly paid him, I think Kamara has a 35% workload role for this late round in an offense I think is ascending, not necessarily great, but I think it's going to be better than it was. And he also, again, he actually is a guy who's successful in the red zone. He is a guy who can be successful if he consolidates more of the passing work. I know A-Chain, can do those things as well. But I think there's enough there for him to easily pay off 15 to 17 round range.
Yep, absolutely. Brandon Ayuk goes. I was wondering if people are done with the Brandon Ayuk picks, but still going to pick 194. Is he somebody that you've been in on at all, and
no,
are you still draft him at all?
No, yeah. I never thought, and I've taken him a couple times when he fell, which now is no longer a fall because his value's plummeting, but very, very, very little, because it's just everywhere you turn, the team's done with him. The George Kittle and other players have made public comments about him. TJ Hushmanzada, his position coach, is trashing him. And trashing is wrong. That. Just speaking the truth.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, that's tough. Looks like Tank Bigsby went and Ray Davis went, so we're not getting either of.
I'd go Katron Allen as fifth running back.
And then is there another wide receiver that you particularly like here?
Yeah, I mean, Ted Hurst isn't terrible, but you me sort by wide receiver. I don't mind with the Bo Nix doing Pat Bryant just to give some insurance. Also, Keon Coleman is I think fine click as well.
I'm super in on Pat Bryant. So with your permission.
Oh yeah, no, I think as much as I like Sutton, I think Franklin or Bryant, one of them is going to be pretty good. And they go 17th, 18th round. It's just so free for an offense that has no tight end usage. There's just not a lot of production that's going to come from the tight end role. So a third receiver probably hits pretty well in this offense. And even if it's split between those two guys, you're probably, it's the same thing that we talked about with Keon Coleman before. If they're getting 4 touchdowns in 17th, 18th round, that is totally fine.
Yep. Yeah. So Pat Bryant, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but Pat Bryant, part of the appeal there is he seemed to be really coming on late in the year. There was a period, I think it was a playoff game, where they targeted him 4 times on the first drive, and it would just kind of clearly overtook Troy Franklin when Troy Franklin was not very good. Obviously, it's going to remain somewhat of a rotation, or at least I assume so, with Troy Franklin and Marvin Mims kind of working in there also. It's kind of the way Denver just operates anyway. But for an 18th round pick, I think the way the team started to he seemed to be picking up steam while Troy Franklin was losing steam. So I'm pretty hopeful that he is at the very least the wide receiver 3 on Denver. And I don't expect him to be clear to surpass Courtland Sutton. That has been part of my hesitance with Courtland Sutton, is there were times when it looked like he was surpassing him last year, but ultimately Courtland Sutton was strong. But for an 18th round pick as a wide receiver 3 on an offense that we're expecting to be good, I like Pat Bryant quite a bit.
Yeah, and this is why I like having my last pick be a wide receiver, because we got guys like Bryant, Franklin, Keon Coleman, these guys on very good offenses, if not, number 1 in the league offenses. And they're just not always drafted is crazy to me.
Yeah. Can I remind people, please do like the video if you have not already done so. Subscribe to the Flannelverse. And of course, you can check out the Fanspeak DGen Substack. There's a link in the description of this video. It's under $30 with that flannel discount code. So you can check that out if you're interested. Steve, I usually stop after 2 drafts here, but if you want, we could do one more to try to get some different draft spot other than the 11 and 12 hole. I'll read off the team first. So we have Josh Allen, Bo Nix, and Daniel Jones at quarterback. Running backs are James Cook, Saquon Barkley, Cam Scadaboo, Rico Dowdle, and Katron Allen. Wide receivers, Rome Odunze, Courtland Sutton, Matthew Golden, Khalil Shakir, Rashid Shaheed, Trey Tucker, Adonai Mitchell, and Pat Bryant. Tight ends, Tyler Warren and Gunnar Helm. How do you like this team? How do you think it compares to the first one? Do you have a preference between the two of them?
I think I like this a little bit more, just because while our wide receivers are weaker, honestly, that's the position I'm okay being a little weaker on. I think, and I think we threw enough volume at it to make it fine. I like the Josh Allen Bo Nix 1-2 punch. Like I said, Bo Nix has finished quarterback 7 both last 2 years, and Josh Jones quarterback 1. So that feels pretty good and a good way to push our team through. Good way of a couple guys very live for every playoff week. And the Cook, Barkley, Scadaboo, and Rico, that is a very, very strong top 4 running back room.
Yeah, and just throwing on Katron Allen with the final pick, like you said, the wide receivers a little bit iffy, but we get there with volume.
And I think with our strength at running back, the flex should come from the running back essentially every week. So we only need 3 wide receivers, and Rome, Sutton, these guys are I think are very good anchor picks, and then just a lot of volume spike week guys to go along with that.
Yep. If anybody wants to draft with us, 2 more to start for the next BBM. I have entered, so if you want to get in with us, now is the time. I'll go to that one now. If I can find it. I guess it'll be at the bottom now. One more to start. So hop in. Let's hope for a top half of the board pick on this one after getting the 11 and 12. It'd be fun to just have a different set of players to be picking from.
Yeah, no, as much as you asked me before, and it would be I want plenty of the 1, 2, or 3. Sure, sometimes the third round doesn't feel as good, but sometimes that's the guy you need. If Jamar Chase is the guy again, you want Jamar Chase.
Yeah, and I'm really in on Jahmyr Gibbs, and I'm underweight on Bijan Robinson, but obviously wouldn't mind getting a bit more. And what do you know? We might have an opportunity here to get a little bit more Bijan Robinson. We have the 2-hole, so that worked out pretty well.
Yeah,
a new spot here.
No, absolutely.
Are you Gibbs over Bijan, and are those a clear top 2 for you?
It is the clear top 2. I think it's very even. I do give the lean to Gibbs just because the offense is going to be better, but I mean, Bijan is just so talented. And I will say, as much as I'm not a big Kevin Stefanski guy, his running games have always been pretty good.
Yeah, that's fair. I didn't know that Bijan had the 97-yard touchdown in him until week 17 last year, where we saw him breaking away and they couldn't catch him. That was fun.
He's so talented.
Yeah. Travis says Puka over everyone on DraftKings. I don't mind that take. I think that's a defensible take. I like Gibbs and Bijan as the 1-2, but Puka, if he can just stay healthy. All right. Well, we do not get Bijan here. Bijan goes 101.
Gibbs is fine.
Yeah, I don't mind getting another share of Gibbs.
I have a question though on Puka versus Chase. Like, Chase should just dominate in targets. Chase probably has higher touchdown upside. Like, do you worry at all with that?
With taking Puka over Chase?
Yeah.
So I take Chase ahead of Puka. But I think to me, Puka just has the I guess it's equally condensed to some extent. They're actually, now that I'm thinking about it, sort of similar offenses in that they have the the running back, really strong alpha running back. I guess the Rams have 2 there split a little bit, but it's really condensed to the pass catchers being, Puka and Devontae and Chase and Higgins. But I think that Puka is more likely to separate from Devontae than Chase from Higgins, just because I think Devontae, we've kind of seen the age cliff from Devontae already, and they got there with the touchdowns last year, but we saw some of his underlying metrics. Targets per route run, I think, was down a little bit last year, and now he's a year older. So I think we could see Puka separate from Devontae a little bit more. So I guess I'm not worried about it because I am taking Jamar Chase. I'm just doing it by ADP. So I try to be kind of even from that standpoint. I think you can kind of, I think the case is kind of equal for either of them, because I think we have, and I guess, so we have the aging quarterback also for the Ram side is a little bit of a concern for me with Puka of if anything happens to Matthew Stafford, I think that just is a huge hit to Puka Nacua. Whereas we've seen Jamar Chase do okay with some of the backup quarterbacks. I can't remember who the backup quarterback was that came in and was pretty good for the Bengals a couple of years ago. Anyway, but I think we've seen Jamar Chase kind of excel anyway, even with worse quarterback play. I I don't know. To me, it's sort of a toss up. So I just do it by ADP. Do you see it as more of a? Do you have a clear favorite between
I mean,
Chase
I
and Puka?
I do just because I think I love T Higgins and I think he's a great click where he goes. Um, I just think Jamar Chase is the one wide receiver one, the clear guy. Where uh, let's see here, Nico.
Yeah, it'd be Nico for me. I
Yeah,
was hoping for a Drake London like the guy got in the last draft, but
yeah,
no such luck.
one pick before us.
Yeah,
Um, but like I said, like up to the point where Devontae Adams got injured last year, Puka was wide receiver 5. Very good. That's awesome. Um, and that was with Matt Stafford having just an insane year.
true.
He led the league in passing yards, led the league in touchdowns by a mile. Um,
Who do
I
you like
think
here?
I'm Pickens or Devonta Smith here.
Sorry, Pickens or Devontae Smith? Did you say?
Yeah,
All right, we will. Man, that's tough. I'll go Pickens. It does feel the downside to Pickens here is that I think that combo is just so common. So
yeah.
I guess to get a unique combo could have been Devontae Smith. But I think the Nico Collins being here is a little bit rare, so still makes the trio a little bit unique to some extent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just to the Chase Puka thing, and where Chase, he missed one game on his own, so did Puka, and Higgins missed one game, but Chase was still able to do everything he did with Higgins playing almost the entire year, where Puka, I think, needed the Adams injury to excel to wide receiver 1. And Joe Burrow missed so much time last year where, like, to me, everything went wrong with Chase and he almost caught him,
Yeah,
where everything went right essentially for Puka outside of his one missed game. And, I just think in a more, if Stafford only throws 30 touchdowns this year, like, what's going to happen?
yeah. I mean, do you think there's any chance though that like Adams hits that age cliff, and even without the injury, we just see Puka separate a little bit more?
I guess I struggle with that a little bit more because here's the other thing is like, and not, I know you're saying age cliff, but Puka's not been the picture of health. He's missed games every single year of his career.
Yeah.
The way he plays, the way they utilize him, he takes a ton of hits. I think Adams played well. They would miscast him as a downfield receiver at times, and that was truly never his game. Like he had it more when he was 5-10 years younger, but he was never an elite vertical receiver. He was always like intermediate and short area and always dominate the red zone. So that I think stays pretty sticky. Is I guess the way I look at it. There's always a risk with an older receiver, but Adams was playing pretty damn well last year.
Yeah, I mean, clearly capitalizing on those red zone opportunities, scoring a lot of touchdowns. So yeah, I think Adams. Yeah, I think that's fair. But yeah, to me, it's super close between those two because I have like the same like kind of range of concerns, honestly, for other than the idiot tax. Like you're not Jamar Chase not doing stuff off the field like Puka is like a little bit of concern there, but outside of that, it's like some concern for both quarterbacks having a bit of an injury history. Some concern for injuries to the players themselves. I'd say more so for Puka than Jamar Chase in that sense, but yeah, kind of some of the same concerns going on. Runs pointed out Team 8 wasted their great start. They got a fall on JSN to 8, and then they reached for Josh Allen at 17, which maybe you like that better than I do. I'm not a huge fan of that.
I wouldn't take Josh Allen that early. No, definitely not.
Do you like Colston Loveland here? Josh Jacobs, Cam Scatterbo fall?
I mean, Cam Scatterbo fall. You got to take it, right?
Yeah, I mean that's obvious. After I said it, I was like, okay, now I know the answer to that.
Yeah, no, because we didn't talk. Like, I like Josh Allen. I get why, like you said, the Sims don't recommend him as much because of the 20 pick discount between him and Lamar. But I still think Allen is great in the late 30s. Like 17 is just real rich.
Yeah. Do you like Loveland here to go with it, Jahmyr Gibbs?
I do. I do like Loveland a lot.
Yeah, that's where I'm leaning. Also, love the little Detroit Chicago game stack.
And had Loveland gone, I probably would have pushed for DeAndre Swift for that same reason.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm also pretty in on Dave Montgomery this year. I know a lot of people are like super out on Dave Montgomery. I'm like the way the team is talking about him, it's just
Yeah.
like I think they're going to lean on him, and even with a bad offensive line, like I think he's just going to get there with volume and be a pretty strong pick. But I know there are people who think that he's dead zoney, which I think is also kind of fair. Where are you at with
Yeah,
Montgomery?
I'm with you on what we're paying for him. I think is very fair. This is a guy who 2 years ago, I understand he was on the Lions, but 2 years ago he was at the point that he got injured and missed the last 3 weeks. He was running back 11 or 12. So you mean he can't do this with more volume? I think that balances any concerns about from the offensive side. And yeah, the O line. Still some question marks, but there's also more potential there. Signing Braden Smith, I think, was a big signing for them. They drafted another, guy early in Rutledge who didn't play center a lot in college, but they believe in him. And they have Ursay coming in year two. I think the offensive line, not that's going to be a top 10 unit, not that's going to rival the Philly, a healthy Philly line, but if it's the 20th best offensive line, that's a massive improvement from the what it's been essentially the last couple of years.
See, you have a football background, right? I can't remember if you were a coach or a player or both.
I
What
played,
is your background?
yeah, I played
Okay.
some in high school, but not nothing beyond that. But my grandfather was a longtime high school coach and actually played at University of Pitt. So I've just always loved football, studied the X's and O's of it, and trying to take a deeper look, both through college. I've always done college scouting for the draft and stuff like that. So, I think I have a pretty well-rounded base of knowledge, and I do like the analytics side. Like I'm very in on like fantasy points and other sites, analytical approaches as well. But for some of these things like offensive line, sometimes it's just health is a big factor.
Yeah.
Cohesion and gelling together is such a thing as well. So, sorry about that. So yeah, cohesion I think is so important, and we'll see. But I just think there's a lot of upside to this, the Houston offensive line for some decent improvement, and kind of reminds me of the Washington offensive line, Jane Daniels rookie year when they go on and get Tyler Biotish, not the sexiest, biggest name of offensive line picks, but he really helps. Sam Cosme takes a big step. One or two other people just play at an average-ish level, and it's enough.
Yeah, it goes from a team it's been multiple years now of a pretty putrid offensive line, and you just like push it
Yeah.
up to middle of the pack, and that makes a huge difference to the rest of the offense. Yeah, that's good to hear because I guess I've been kind of assuming that the offensive line is going to remain like a bottom five unit. So if there's any upside there for it to just be even like middle of the pack, that would be pretty awesome for Stroud, Collins, all the
Yeah.
other, and especially Montgomery. I think more than anybody. Um, all right, we are almost back up on the clock. Man, QJ up to pick 69 now. All right, Caleb goes at
Rich.
70. Parker Washington, a little bit of a fall. Drake May is here.
I like Drake May. He's a guy you can easily backstack if need be. He's finished his quarterback 2 last year. And on top of that, this is another team where they just would not throw the ball in a lot of second halves. They just didn't have to. And he ran for like 400 yards, I think 4 touchdowns. They were never pushed. Like Josh Allen runs more in games where it's back and forth. He doesn't run in the blowout games, right? So it's the same thesis for Drake May.
All right. Dak Prescott, if we want to stack him up with George Pickens or Parker Washington, Marvin Harrison, anybody else?
Let's go Dak. That would allow us to maybe go only 2 quarterback if need be.
Yeah.
And even if we do end up with the 3rd quarterback, I just like the Dak upside. I mean, that's who Matt Stafford beat out for passing yards last year, and we saw Dak his previous healthy year to lead the league in touchdowns. We just know the kind of upside that Dak has and where we're taking him. Him and May again could have 2 top 5 quarterbacks. That feels really good for this kind of team.
Yeah, no, I like the Dak pick there. I was tempted by the Parker Washington fall just because I feel like he's moving and moving upward. So if you get a little bit of a fall, I'm like, all right, maybe this is a spot to up that. exposure. But yeah, I think Dak just kind of makes sense on the team. And if you're not as into Parker Washington, I think that makes sense to take a Dak share there. Kind of an interesting build start, like 2-2-2-1, not the most common way for me to start. Guessing that's the same for you. We have Jahmyr Gibbs, Nico Collins, George Pickens, Cam Scatterbu, Colston Loveland, Drake May, and Dak Prescott. Kind of fun though. Like I like the start, even if it is a little bit, it's not super. I guess it is super balanced, just like in a different way than usual. Do you like the start?
Yeah, like you said, I don't typically build it like this. If I'm going two quarterbacks this early, I probably didn't take a tight end. But I think almost assuredly it's a two tight end team with Loveland. So if we need to catch up at either running back or receiver, which at this point I think it could go either way, we can throw extra volume there, and we could go two quarterback as well. So we could really, stack up both of those positions if need be.
Meg says, I like this start a lot. I could have told you that at pick 47, Meg. I know that you like this start a lot. Mike Robb says, holy Mekhi Lemon percentage. Neil, do you think he starts as number 2 right away? I honestly, I don't have a super strong read on the Eagles. I think he's obviously a talented first round pick. It's largely though because I'm using the sidekick, and anytime like he's well ahead of ADP, I think, in the sidekick. So it's largely a function of the sidekick. It's also just kind of a gross range. Like, if there isn't a quarterback there that I really like, it's often just going to be like, all right, I guess Mekhi Lemon, probably the best receiver in this range. I probably feel less strongly about it than my percentage indicates there, which isn't always the case. Like a lot of it is a lot of players like Jonathan Brooks, I'm super high on. I have a lot because of that. That's one where it's like, honestly, it's largely a factor of just using the sidekick, and he's usually at the top there. Are you a Mekhi Lemon guy, Steve?
I don't have a lot. I think he's okay in that range, but I think, like you said, I'm taking quarterback a lot of time in that range. And it's also a bit of a tier break at some running back, like a Tony Pollard or somebody like that. And sometimes, like you just get a fall. My issue with Lemon is more, I would rather DK Metcalf. I'd rather Sutton in general.
Okay. All right. So we could take Josh Downs, Tucker Kraft, a little bit of a fall. Xavier Worthy.
I think Downs. I think is a good click with, Pittman gone, those vacated targets. In addition, Pierce dealing with the injury. I mean, Downs could start the year as like wide receiver 1.
And then Xavier Worthy, Sam Laporta, Jonathan Brooks, Michael Pittman, Jacoby Myers.
I'd probably go Pittman, just another like receiver with 100 plus targets. I think there's, decent enough red zone role. So I think we've caught up at receiver. Like running back, I think is, we're kind of double anchor, and I'm fine with that. But I think receiver now we've kind of really caught up.
You can see I have 54% Jonathan Brooks, which I think this is just Underdog now. I think it used to be that this would show Underdog plus DraftKings. I think that they've separated this out at this point because that number has gone down, the dollar number for Jonathan Brooks. So he's usually my pick with that last one. But I do think like he has reached a range now. Like pick 98 is where I'm like, I loved him when he was, pick 110. Now we're getting to the point where I'm like, I do think I prefer Blake Corum ever so slightly. Like it's a range where it's a little bit, I'm less like, I love it at this pick. Do you have thoughts on Jonathan Brooks? He's someone that you draft much of. I know he's pretty polarized and a lot of people super out.
Yeah. So there was a while there where I was taking a decent chunk of him, but kind of definitely not at that 54% range. But, when he was going 120 to definitely 110 and even to 105, sure. But now it's gained to a point where it's a little too pricey. Like, I think Chris Rodriguez, Rashard White, I think are fine clicks at a lower rate. The Vikings guys, you like pick your poison. There, they have just as much potential. I mean, Brooks has more potential, but he also has more risk. Back-to-back major knee injuries, never great.
Yeah, it's funny for me to have 54% and still be like, yeah, I think I'm okay with passing on him here. Like, I don't feel that strongly that I should take him over a Michael Pittman, because now we're getting to a range where there is some talent in that range, and it's more based on team needs. I love the upside there, but I do see the downside case. So I do want to acknowledge that the 54% also, I will say, skewed because I got like 75% in my auto drafts, which is because he was in a range of those RB2s, which I was kind of using as a backstop for, like, if I don't get earlier running backs, I want to make sure I get some. So I got a ton in that little Dalmatian also. The percentage was a little bit lower before that. A little bit of a fall on Kenny Gainwell.
I think that's a easy click right there.
Yeah, I like that one quite a bit. When you need running back help, and then the running back falls, that feels pretty good.
There's a couple of things I like here. Let's see what Lev leaves us. I like Travis Kelce and be done at 2 tight ends. And I think people just forget how good Kelce's been even these last couple of years. He was tight end 3 last year in total points, I think 8th or 9th in points per game. But that was also with Patrick Mahomes missing the last 4 weeks. His production was essentially 0 in that time frame. And even the 2 previous years where people have been very down on him, he was like quarterback or tight end 6 and tight end 2. I understand that, that 18 points per game is probably not coming back, but him getting 10, 12 points per game average, I think pretty good. And I don't think Mahomes is running as much. So I think a lot of those like scrambles become dump offs to most likely Kelce and Walker.
Right. Yeah, no, I have a fair bit of Travis Kelce. Don't mind that pick at all. I was sure that you were going to want to go to another running back, since we got a little behind, but we've got a strong start with Gibbs and Scadaboo.
Yeah,
and get the fall on Gainwell. So yeah, I'm not mad at passing up on a running back. I'm curious. So the latest is that the report came out that like the Vikings backfield is going to be Mason's and Jones just going to be like the pass catching back. I have way more Aaron Jones than Jordan Mason. Do you have a thought on the Vikings backfield? Like, do you have a preference?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some of those reports. I'm more Aaron Jones than Mason. Just also, I think Jones offers more spike week ability. Like Mason, even if he is the lead back, it's probably a lot of like 12-point games, 60 yards and a touchdown with no passing work, which is fine. That can hit your lineup. And in the 10th, 11th round, I think that's an okay click. But I think Jones has just that ability to, break off a long reception or a longer run, and maybe spike a little bit more. But yeah, I definitely don't worry about Claiborne much at all. He just I wasn't a big fan of him. I don't think he's got a lot of passing game upside. So if Jones goes down, I don't know if he's really stepping in and doing much as a rookie. So I just want to kind of have both. I should probably even it out more of Mason and Jones, but I was kind of like with you with a pretty heavy lean on Jones.
Yeah, so you don't love hearing that it's probably Jordan Mason's backfield. You'd love to hear that it's just going to be, hey, we're gonna lean on the do it all back with Aaron Jones, but it is what it is. I think he's going to have a strong role. I think, so not too worried about it. The other one that I was if he was going to fall, I was going to get your opinion on Keaton Mitchell. He goes ahead of time, but maybe I'll still ask. Are you in or out on Keaton Mitchell?
I'm out on Mitchell. Let's see. I'm fine with a receiver here.
Preference?
I'd probably lean Shaheed.
And then do you want to add another quarterback? Because now we have the outs of CJ Stroud potentially, or Sam Darnold, or we could wait and see if we can get a late Aaron Rodgers, or actually Daniel Jones. We've got plenty of outs.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it. I don't mind CJ Stroud, but I think I would, if Hunter's there or McMillan, I'd probably take one of them over him, even Jalen Naylor. And if we get like a Aaron Rodgers to fall back, then I think that's an interesting conversation then.
Is Hunter your preference?
Yeah, I think for a spike week, I think we caught up for a baseline at wide receiver, but he's the kind of guy who could separate our team.
Yeah. No, I think he makes sense because we already have, like you said, we've got some floor guys. Josh Downs, Pittman, I think both feel like kind of floor guys at this point, and of course we got a strong start with Collins and Pickens, so we can take shots on the big play guys, the spike week guys, and
Yeah.
Shaheed and Hunter. I think they make sense on this team.
Yeah, yeah, and I think we're probably going maybe six running backs with only two tight end, and I don't think we needed eight wide receivers. I mean, we could depending on what we do at quarterback. Um, but you were asking me about Keaton Mitchell. I'm out, particularly at this price. The problem that I have is he has like four games in his career with 10 or more touches, and one of those he did get two touchdowns and had 20 some points. I just don't. I know people. Mike McDaniel's excited about him, but he's excited about him to give him four snaps a game. It's not. And yes, those snaps he'll get a carry or he'll get a target. Though he's not really a good pass catching guy. Um, I just think the chance that he's hitting your lineup is very low. Even with a long 60-yard touchdown, he probably got you 12 points. Like it's not. He gets a 60-yard touchdown, he got 24 points.
Right.
That was his entire game essentially. So the chance that hits more than twice, I think, is kind of low. And we talked about a guy, Alvin Kamara, who's going to probably have way more usage 4 rounds later. And if anything happens to Hampton, Mitchell's role doesn't expand. Like it's Kamani Vidal who becomes the beneficiary.
Yeah. Yeah. I was really in for a little while, and then starting hearing the naysayers a little bit more, and eventually being like, yeah, it is a strong point that it's like you're kind of hoping for, you're trying to thread a needle with Keaton Mitchell, where it's like,
Yeah.
okay, we know that he's not going to have the contingent, like he's the clear running back if Hampton goes down, but the hope has always been like, well, what if he's Devin Achan? Like that, I think that's the pro case is like, well, we've seen Mike McDaniel. We had the year where it's both Raheem Mostert and Devin Achan both
Mhm.
got there, like they both crushed that year. And what if he's just like the smaller back? I also like Ben Gretsch made the point that he thinks that Keaton Mitchell could be more used in the passing game with Mike McDaniel. Like maybe he just hasn't shown it yet, but they could try to get him involved. But ultimately, it's still like what best case scenario, we're getting 6 to 8 touches per game, and
Yeah.
all right, Tank Bigsby is here, Brian Robinson, Dylan Sampson.
I think, do you want to take a receiver and be done first?
Yeah. Who do you like?
I like Boston or Samuel. I think either one is a really good click.
All right. Go Deebo Samuel.
And then running back, I kind of like doing the if it comes. Oh, Brian Robinson went. I was going to say Brian Robinson just because we took Gibbs over Bijan. So both Brian Robinson and Kamara went. I was hoping we'd get one of those two back, but I'm good. Sampson probably. Tank is fine Sampson as well, but I probably lean Sampson.
Okay. Yeah, that is my lean. I like Sampson. I would have been fine taking him in the 14th. I think that made sense though to go Deebo first. Yeah, unfortunate that both Brian Robinson and Kamara go. Sounds like those are your two preferences. But I do think Sampson should have that pass catching role. And it's a team that I think is going to be playing from behind a fair amount. So could have some spike weeks like we saw last year with Sampson. You don't need much in this range.
No, and I think we talked about him a little before. This is going to be a bad Browns team. They're going to be behind a lot. I just think you could see more and more dump offs to him. So, year
it's a weird case where the team being bad is kind of good for us. Like,
yeah,
it seems really bad. Like because they showed last year that they will go away from Quinshon Judkins. Like if they get behind, they're willing to just like, all right, we're going to lean on Dylan Sampson now. So yeah, I think it's strong pick where he's going.
Yeah, like and that's why I said Samuel also is because I saw 3 running backs that I liked, and even Tank Bigsby. So I was like, I knew we'd get one back.
Yeah.
I was hoping it'd be Brian Robinson or Kamara first, but Sampson I think is totally reasonable as well.
Yeah, bigger tier break I think at wide receiver than running back there potentially. Yeah. So I think that made sense. All right, so we are now at a 2-4-7-2 build. Do you think we're probably at least one, maybe 2 more running backs could be done at quarterback, depending on what falls back to us, because we're pretty good there. Do you think we're done at tight end with Loveland and Kelsey?
I think we're definitely done at tight end. And yeah, I think, you know, probably at least two more running backs, and then we'll see if there's a quarterback option or not. You know, that kind of is the only determining factor, I think. I think our receivers are excellent. I really think we caught up really well there. Like we got the two alphas, and then down like you said, kind of like the high volume number two receivers, and then the spike week guys in like you know Shaheed, Hunter, and Debo's kind of in between.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think that worked out well. Um, if we don't get a quarterback, would you do three more running backs, or how do you think we would do this if we don't?
I mean, then I probably would add another receiver, but
Is Aaron Rodgers the quarterback you wanted?
yeah, I think at this position, he's got no bench risk, and even last year he had a couple of like 24, 26 point games, and he's now back with Mike McCarthy. They should throw the ball a lot more this year.
Yeah, and obviously we have Michael Pittman there. Now I'm curious to hear your thoughts on these late round running backs. This is always a fun, assuming that you want to go running back here.
Yeah. I'm Katron Allen above all. I just think the JCM hype is a little extreme. I think Katron can fill the Chris Rodriguez role at the very least, if not more. And I think for where you're getting him, like these other running backs are either like pure contingent guys like a Ray Davis, or it's like a guess, like, and it's a worse guess, like a Marshawn Lloyd or a George Kalani, or to me, worse guesses than a Katron Allen.
Interesting. So I often will go Marshawn Lloyd there, but I can see the case for like Marshawn Lloyd. It's funny because Sam Sherman made this joke on Twitter that basically Jonathan Brooks is expensive, Marshawn Lloyd, and of course I'm falling for both of them again. Just like oh man, but he's they talk about him like they really want him to be good, and if he can just stay healthy and I'm hopeful. But like Katron Allen, we just don't know what he is yet at this point. So you think that you think he will have a standalone role? Or are you betting on one of the other two running backs getting hurt?
I think. I guess that's the difference to me is outside of something legally happening with Josh Jacobs, like Marshawn Lloyd's role, even if he is healthy and everything, is still probably limited. Yeah. I think Katron Allen has an opportunity to overtake one of, if not, I doubt both running backs. I don't think he's necessarily running back one on this team, but could he do what Chris Rodriguez did for Washington a year ago? Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, and you get him at a really nice price here. We have approval from Meg that we're playing the hits, the Fanspeak hits on this team. Adding Aaron Rodgers here.
Well, I just think people get so down on Aaron Rodgers, and he had a 4.8% touchdown rate last year. It's actually better mid-year until he had that wrist injury. 4.8% was tied for 11th. That's really good. They just didn't have a lot of volume. So if Mike McCarthy comes in and they throw the ball 100 more times, which as I just talked about before, Dak, his last year with Mike McCarthy led the league in touchdowns. I just don't think people are giving that kind of credit. Not that Rodgers is leading the league in touchdowns, but
right.
Aaron Rodgers finished his quarterback 12 or 13. Absolutely. And we just got him in the 16th round.
Yeah. I mean, there's some cap on Aaron Rodgers, right? Because he likes to play slow. Well, let's make this pick. Monty Vidal's there, Marshawn Lloyd, or do you want to go different?
I don't mind Lloyd. Like here, Lloyd, yeah. Lloyd or Vidal. Like I'd take some Lloyd. It's just Katron Allen to me as a higher upside.
Okay. Yeah. Lloyd is the second to last pick in the draft. Like, even if he is just contingent upside,
exactly.
That feels pretty good. And, so strong team, I think. This one I might even like this one better than the other two. And I've kind of liked, I think these have been pretty strong, like a strong portfolio of teams to get these three. So the final team, we have Drake May, Dak Prescott, and Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. At running back, we have Jahmyr Gibbs, Cam Scadaboo, Kenny Gainwell, Dylan Sampson, Katron Allen, and Marshawn Lloyd. Wide receivers, we have Nico Collins, George Pickens, Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, Rashid Shaheed, Travis Hunter, and Debo Samuel. And at tight end, we have Colston Loveland and Travis Kelsey. Where would this one rank for you of our three teams today? How do you
I
feel
don't
about
know. This might
it?
be one,
Yeah.
because some of the other ones I think we made a little bit more sacrifices. Definitely made a sacrifice at tight end, and this sometimes I feel like when you take early tight end like Loveland, then you're making a sacrifice somewhere else. I think our running back room is great. I think our receiver room is really good, and our quarterbacks are. I mean, we're fine stopping at May and Dak, and we tack on Aaron Rodgers as well. So yeah, I don't see a big weakness on this team. This might be the top team of the three, but I like all three.
Yeah, no, I'm same page as you. I think that this one probably is my favorite. And part of it is like we had some really nice fallers. I mean, we
Yeah.
started with getting Jameer Gibbs at the two. Like that's 35% outcome these days. I think he's usually like the 101 the vast
Hmm.
majority of the time. But then we get, Drake May fell a few picks past ADP. We reached a little bit on Dak, but then we get Aaron Rodgers. We got 15 picks of ADP value there. Cam Scattaboo, we get 3 picks of ADP value. We get a nice fall on Kenny Gainwell. We're kind of right at ADP on Dylan Sampson. Um, Fall on Marshawn Lloyd. Nico Collins at 23 is not always there.
Yeah.
Pickens there. So I feel like we kind of got a lot of nice ADP values on this team. And it was often like at positions where we needed those values. Like it was like we were, a little behind at running back, and then Kenny Gainwell falls to us at pick 119. So yeah, I think this was just a team that came together really nicely with the way things fell.
Yeah, and I think to me, we didn't take many what I'd call fragile players. I know some people might point to Travis Hunter in that, but especially early, like there's a lot of projectable volume in our first three running backs, in our first four receivers, our two tight ends. So like sometimes, and that's why I'm not as big on like some of the guys we talked about, like a Bucky Irving or a Bayshell Tootin, because they could absolutely pay off their ADP, or they could be like the worst pick in their round. Where the guys that we took, I just, I mean, injuries obviously can always be a factor, but I think we know the offenses are going to relatively run through like Gibbs and Scattaboo at the running back position. Downs and Pittman now just seem like such good values where they're going ADP wise. And those were our 3 and 4 receivers. Nico Collins, he just needs to stay healthy. And I feel really good about this team.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really strong one. I think that it is my favorite of the three. But like you said, I do think that we drafted some really nice teams here. I started to make the point / pose the question on Aaron Rodgers. Like, do you agree that there's kind of a cap on how many he likes to play slow, right? He uses the full play clock pretty frequently, so that kind of caps him to some extent. But I still really think it's a strong pick at ADP, and of course here we get him past ADP because he does have some strong weapons there now, like DK Metcalf. I don't think he's the best wide receiver one out there, but he's still like a pretty strong NFL receiver. And then of course Michael Pittman, and then some hope for what if Jeremy Bernard is actually pretty good, Roman Wilson looking good, and then of course the tight ends, some hope for Darnell Washington, Pat Freiermuth. So I think that the Pittsburgh offense could surprise overall, and then obviously Rodgers still looked pretty good last year.
Yeah, and I know he does probably play slower than most. I do think Mike McCarthy maybe speeds that up slightly. Sure. And I just think, between the weapons, the accuracy was still relatively there. He just didn't have weapons last year, and his completion percentage, touchdown rate, a few other metrics were right in Aaron Rodgers' wheelhouse. So as I've said before, when Dak was healthy, Mike McCarthy's offenses were just absolutely fire. I understand Rodgers is maybe not Dak, where Dak is, but I don't think he's that far off.
I agree. Love the team. Reminder to anybody, if you haven't already, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. And of course, join the Flying Discord. It's free to join. There's a link in the description of this video. There's also a link to the Fanspeak Substack. Steve, I know people can check that out. Anything else that you want to shout out before we get out of here?
Well, on our Fanspeak YouTube channel, we are still doing Best Ball Jeopardy. We have that every week. So this Wednesday, definitely check that out. It's every Wednesday, and I appreciate everyone for who does check that out or check out the Substack. And as always, I appreciate you having me on the show.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on. Definitely recommend checking out Best Ball Jeopardy. Of course, I am one of the competitors this year. Not my best performance this year, but I did move on to round 2 again. So looking forward to continuing that once again. Check out the Fanspeak YouTube, and of course, check out the Substack. Less than $30 a year if you use promo code Flannel on the Fanspeak Substack. Again, there's a link in the description of this video. All right. Thanks a lot, Steve, for hanging out with me. I'm slowing down my words so I can get to 2 hours here. We're 5 seconds away from 2 hours. Okay, we're going to get 2 hours. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Thanks, Steve. I'll be back tomorrow with John Sarabian of Rumpure Sports at 4 Eastern. So check me out there. All right. Thanks, everybody. See you tomorrow.